With oil price skyrocketing by a staggering 350%, the reverberating effects are being felt across every sector. Nigeria is not left out, as it finds itself at crossroads, prompting the government to intervene by implementing subsidies through the Price Control Act. Now, this act made it illegal to sell certain commodities, including petrol, above a regulated price. President Bola Tinubu's recent announcement to end fuel subsidies has unleashed a torrent of controversy, raising concerns about potential economic fallout. And as the nation grapples with the consequences of oil dependency, the government played a pivotal role in introducing vital changes to energy efficiency policies and building design codes as well. Manufacturers too rose to the occasion by unveiling energy-efficient products with a more energy-conscious public. Now, joining us to discuss the fuel subsidy situation and energy efficiency is the president of the Facility Management Association of Nigeria, Paul Erubami. Good afternoon. It's good to have you with us on Rise News and, of course, Newsday.
Good afternoon. Pleasure is mine.
All right. So can you walk us through the Price Control Act and subsidy implementation? What does this portend for Nigeria's economy in the long run, you think?
I think the first thing we should think about is the inflation that is going to propel. There will be rising costs of doing business, from logistics to the cost of powering the economy. Businesses and households will have higher costs to run. And there will be no commensurate increase in revenues for businesses. So income will stagnate. And as such, there will be cost-cutting measures, which may lead to laying off of workers. That is to be expected. We also expect the buying power to reduce significantly, and that will mean hardship, for the populace. I see a situation where we need to rethink the whole processes of our businesses. Organizations need to think about their cost structure again, vis-a-vis the impact of the cost of energy on the running of businesses. So to a large extent, we can say the government can smile, to more revenues in the coffers, but the population is going to have immediate, to midterm hardship to deal with. And as such, we should all tighten our belts. It's a trying time for Nigeria right now.
Trying time indeed. So let's talk about global oil prices. How is this impacting on the current zero subsidy regime, and do we have enough means to cushion the effects, you think? It sounds so sudden with all of this happening, but it's been in the works for some time now.
Yes, it has been. So the thing is, there are a few premises we need to consider. First is the fact that for an oil-producing country, one expects that the population, the citizens, should have some benefits, of being in a country where crude is abundantly available and gas abundantly available. So taking that out, making us a par with every other country where they don't produce. I think that's the first, consideration. And then when you want to take away subsidy, you should think about how else to plow the resources, the revenue, so that people can benefit from the God-given resources. The second thing is the fact that international prices are dictated by currencies that we don't have control over, right? So Nigeria will suffer from currency fluctuations in addition to international prices fluctuations, right? So we are beaten on both ends by this situation, and it all trickles down to more hardship, right, to Nigerians. So in the past, there have been both the subsidy and then the dual currency, almost as if the currency was being subsidized to allow importers bring in the product at subsidized rates and so on and so forth. But now both have been removed almost simultaneously, right? So which means currency has, the dollar has, skyrocketed. The price, is now responding to international prices at that rate we are dealing with. So there's a combination of factors that is linked to compound this as a big issue for Nigerians at this moment.
Very big issue, which brings me to the issue of competition itself. How do we compete as a country when we have all this gambit of challenges, as it were?
So that's the point. We are trying to move to a more sustainable economy, environmental impact reduction and the rest. We have the resources, both crude and gas, natural gas, in great abundance, right? So I think we should start from investing in ourselves, how to utilize these resources as Nigerians.
True.
The whole process of taking out the crude and bringing it back in refined, it's not something that can give us any advantage by any means, you know. And then even that process of trying to build capacity, technological capacity and the industrial capacity to actually refine and make it available to ourselves, it's been mismanaged over the years. Yeah. So you have refineries that don't work, and everybody seems to think that the whole solution now is on the Dangote refinery, which I mean it's a good thing, big thing coming from our environment, but that's not the solution, because at the end of the day, if he has to pay international prices in US dollars for the crude he's going to refine, he's going to sell at international prices of refined products, you know, into the Nigerian economy. So we will still not find the respite we are hoping to get. So competitiveness, I don't think we're thinking about that yet. You know, we are still at survival mode as a country. So to a large extent, we are dealing with make it available at any cost, because when it becomes scarce again, it's even worse, right? And then we are looking at palliatives, you know, what palliatives can really help cushion the effect of this price hike. So we're waiting. We just heard about the 500 billion that's been approved for palliatives. The details are not yet out, so we can't tell about how that's going to trickle down to the ordinary Nigerian. We hope that will be a good thing coming from this government.
Indeed. I guess we don't have to wait too long with all this myriad of policies trickling in. So when we talk about energy efficiency measures, what alternatives are we looking at, and how willing is society able to embrace that rather than, you know, relying on fossil fuels all the time?
So the thing about energy is there are two things to it. First is we think about moving away from fossil fuel. So we hear people investing heavily on renewables and so on and so forth. I don't think that's the first thing. The first thing is efficiency for what we are producing. We have a comparative advantage when it comes to gas, for example. Right? Gas is cleaner by far than crude. So if we're talking about sustainability, let's focus on what gas can do for us, right? But it starts from being able to monitor and know where our energy is currently going into. There's a huge inefficiency in the system right now, all the way from the GENCO's production system, network, distribution, the DISCO's network to deliver to homes and offices. Transformers are overheating, you know, lines are cutting here and there. Sometimes you get low current, high current, all those kind of things. Every time you have these anomalies, these maintenance issues in the system, energy is being lost. So at the scale of the grid, there's a huge inefficiency. And when you hear about them not being able to recover their cost, a lot of this cost is going to inefficiency and waste at that level. So they want to pass that on to the consumers to pay, right? So I'm saying in my email to NEC, I say, look, stop trying to pass on inefficiencies to consumers to pay. Let's know the real cost of an efficient system. Let's start from there. Then let's move down to the micro level, the individual who pays for this power. Indeed. Do you know what you are paying for? Do you know how much energy is being used for specific productive activity? We are not advocating that you should use less energy, because really, energy, the ratio of energy, the amount of energy you use determines your productivity level, right? So you should use more energy if you want to do more, if you want to grow, if you want to become bigger as a business. You know, want to manage more people as a school or a hospital, right? You should use more energy. But we are looking at the energy efficiency, the unit of energy used per productive output. That's what we want to be going down, right? But if you don't know how much energy you are consuming in your cooling, for example, cooling for who? You know, electricity for lighting your spaces, right? Lighting for who? For what kind of activities? Production of water and all the other utilities that keep us running our buildings. We need to move away from that era of where's my bill? Let me go and pay my bill. We need to interrogate. We need to investigate. We need to know where we are having losses. And these losses could be from all areas. For example, our building fabric, you know, might be losing thermal insulation, right?
Yeah.
So your cooling, your heating, your lighting can be lost through a poor building fabric that's not been audited to see where the leakages are. Your systems, your electrical systems, your plumbing systems, your air conditioning systems could all have defects that should be plugged, right? And then you should have a metering system that goes beyond the aggregate, so a disaggregated metering system where you can see have visibility into what each aspect. I mean, nowadays with IoT sensors, Internet of Things sensors, we don't need meters everywhere. We just have sensors plugged in here and there, and all that data can be aggregated in the dashboard where you can see exactly what is consuming power in this studio right now, right? And you ask yourself, if this particular light is consuming this much, what additional benefit are we getting from having this
real-time
live? Yes, you know, because at the end of the day, when your bill comes at the end of the month, you need to know, if I'm paying this 5 million, if I'm paying this 10 million naira at the end of the month, what did I get in return for this? How can I break down how the cost was accumulated to this, right? If we all can develop that level of intelligence deployment in our facilities, we will have, first, we'll cut out the waste. We'll see all the areas of waste. For example, things that are running when they shouldn't be running, right? We can cut those out manually without even setting up automations and the rest. Then we can go on to retrofit items that are, defective. They are building components that are defective. And when they are defective, they draw more energy.
Yes.
So if your electrical systems, your air conditioning is producing noise, for example, that noise is not coming from nowhere.
Indeed.
Energy is being used to create the noise, and you won't just cool it from it, right? If your light is getting too hot, that heat is not coming from nowhere. It's coming from energy you're spending on it, right? So if you know all of that and you can fix those maintenance issues, you can drop your energy cost. So let's start from refining, because the moment each building, each individual, family, business can refine and cut out waste, the pressure on the grid reduces.
If I may just come in here, talking about cutting out waste, over time, there's the issue of gas flaring, which has been going on for some time. That political will to actually stop it, that's what's been said. But it's been pushed over time, 2015, 2020, and before you know it. But if we're not producing that much oil and gas flaring, which is also a byproduct of that to a large extent, so how are we optimally using this? I know you alluded to the fact that optimal usage of gas is necessary for the grid and everything, but right now, it seems we're still, not addressing the key issues.
So I believe that we should all focus on that area of control, area of influence, right? At the national level, the legislative framework for stopping gas flaring is not punitive enough. It's still cheaper to pay the penalties and flare than to gather.
Okay.
Right, so it's still cheaper. So somehow,
well, not many people know that.
So if you read the act, it's really cheap, right? I mean, few cents per cubic meter of gas, right, is what you pay as penalty. So you just put out a few $1 million and then you flare. It's more convenient, right? So I think that regulatory framework needs to be tightened up a bit, right? So that, and that's a big issue. That once it gets before the National Assembly, lobbying and others will throw in some millions of dollars into that, and then before you know what's happening, it's been blocked, you know, from being implemented. So, but we don't have control over that.
Okay,
we don't have control over that, right? What we can control is the energy that we actually buy, how we buy energy, and how we use the energy, the energy mixes that we put into our portfolio, right? So. Monitoring, efficiency, cutting out waste, accountability for energy use, right, are the things that we can focus on.
I'm glad you're talking about accountability of energy use, but hopefully you can do this in 1 minute. We are almost running out of time. A recent survey also indicates consumption of PMS in the country witnessed a drop since the introduction of the zero subsidy regime. So what does this tell you on the long term, in this regard? Are we changing our attitudes? 30 seconds now.
I don't think Nigerians are using less PMS. There have not been any data to show that we have reduced our economic activities or our control system has dwindled. What you're seeing in the records, the fact that it's no longer lucrative to smuggle these products to adjoining, neighboring countries where it was sold at a premium and more money was made out of it. So I think that's the first thing. But we can also expect that over time, people will become smarter. For example, you don't go on trips that are no longer relevant.
Yeah.
You think of pulling more than driving alone in a Sienna, for example, or in the highest bus nowadays, right? So, to a large extent, we're going to be more intelligent in how we consume energy, because this is going to force us. Because if we don't do that, we're going to lose out on the funds we have for food and accommodation and other utilities.
Very good, adopting a scale of preference, as it were. Paul Erubami, President, Facility Management Association of Nigeria. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the thoughts.